What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today I'm going to be updating one of my more popular guides, the best grind spots for silver. Now, these are one of the videos that take a long time to actually make because, one, testing all the spots takes a while. Also, two, looking at the data from like Garmoth, I kind of take that with a grain of salt because, you know, that's a huge difference. But yeah, just talking to other people, testing it out myself. Obviously, you guys can see all the grind spots I do. Playlist in the description to everything. And yeah, so the way we do it is we basically look at this monster info. We sort it by lowest to highest AP. And that way, whether you're a beginner all the way to endgame, maybe you're a returning player, maybe this will be helpful for you. But I thought now would be a good time to talk about this video because recently we got the new grind spots, or this new Adania grind spot that's a group one, and I recently did a video to test it. I did a couple hours there, so I could talk about that one as well. And then there was also a few more grind spots since the last time, and I wanted to talk about those as well. So with that said, hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this video. Lock in. It might be a long one because I wanted to share my experience with all of you guys. And talking about silver with this one, I'll do my best to do it, but everyone's amount is probably going to be different based on your gear. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, okay, so before we get started, I talk about this. If you don't know how to determine your AP and your monster AP, by default, your numbers are probably going to look like this when you look at the monster zone info. What you want to do is click the view total stats over here, and then what we're going to be looking at for every spot is the recommended AP and the effective max AP. What does that mean? The recommended is you being able to go to the grind spot and functionally just grind there. If you're trying to min-max a grind spot and go a little bit over the recommended AP cap into the maximum, this is the number you look at. And so once you're over cap, you kind of drop a little bit of damage to go for either more survivability or attack speed, attack cast speed. And yeah, so that's what you do. All right, so knowing that, let's go into the grind spots. All right, so we're sorting it by lowest to highest AP. And if you're a new player, I would recommend all of you guys to play on the seasonal servers. And usually by that point, the max gear you can get on a seasonal is roughly around 240 to 250, depending on if you have all your adventure journals done and, you know, just extra bonuses. So generally, I would say around 240 to 250. And this is with Tuvala gear, and that's generally where you're at. So 250 for everything, and let's go from there. Okay, so with that said, the early spots I would recommend for most people, one being Polly's Forest. This spot is a very good early game one, especially for silver, because not only do you get a bunch of skill points, which helps you get everything unlocked faster, which is not really too big of a deal these days in 2026, but also it'll help you early on with your Atanus elements, which helps you go for the infinite potion. And so if you don't know what that means, basically down here in the currency, there's an Atanus element thing. Collect 3 of a certain type, and it'll tell you which ones. You can get the infinite health potion or the infinite mana potion, or MP one. And those will help you in the late game, trust me, because you will need them. So, number 1, starting with Polly's Forest, if you are within the 200 total AP to 255, or what that means is roughly 140 on your sheet AP. So that's always good. Next one I want to talk about is Trader's Graveyard. Now, this is also a very good early game spot. It's not something I really had to go for, but a lot of people have told me over time that this one is just very good for early game players, and it's decent to, you know, for, I guess, early game silver, and to get your character leveled up, finish seasons as fast as possible. Prodi Cave is also a decent one, especially with the recent Sakraya change. This one is kind of separate from that one, but it also drops some pretty rare items along with the Atanus element, and Abyssal Essence is always good, and a bunch of other goodies. This spot may be good, but it's a little bit out of your way because the one thing you have to worry about is getting there. And it's a little bit easier now with the Olvia Academy being a thing, and it gives you literally a free boat. And so what I would recommend doing is, if you have a character, you could keep your boat at Velia or Ilia Island, and you could just sail from there to Prodi Cave. Nowadays, it's a lot easier because everyone should have at least a free boat from the Olvia Academy. So this spot's good. It's just a little bit out of the way. Okay, next we are going to be talking about... where were we? Also, just keep in mind some of the spots we're going to talk about also have an Elvia version and also Dekia, so those are some of them are better than the others. Bloodwolf Settlement. This one is a very good early game spot for people who are over 180 sheet AP or roughly 300 to 312 effective. The reason why is, one, it drops the infinite potion piece, which is the purple Kagdanak eye, and it also drops a lot of other bunch of goodies that are nice to have. But two, these Kagdanak eyes, they may not seem like anything, but if you combine it with a black magic crystal, which are, not super expensive, they turn into one of the endgame crystals that a lot of people use. So if you get one of those Kagdanaks, you could turn it into a Dark Red Fang Valor, or there's another one that gives defense, or an armor one. And these are around 500 mil each, but these are also crystals that people from the mid to end game also use. So converting one is essentially, let's say, like 500 mil minus whatever the black magic crystal cost is, 6 million. So it's huge profit, especially for all of you early game players out there. And these are something that I would still recommend using. So these crystals to just get more AP if you need it. Next, we have... we have Blood Wolves. This is a multi-purpose, very good spot. Centaurs. This one, over the years, got a little bit worse because they kind of unified Agris. And so back in the day, some spots were better with Agris. And I guess even to this day is still kind of true, but like Pearl Abyss more or less unified the Agris amounts for all the spots across the board to make them all, pretty decent. So this spot just gives a higher multiplier with Agris, and so you just kind of make a lot of silver. Admittedly, getting to this spot like 180 nowadays in AP is, you just kind of blow past it with all the extra catch-up mechanics and everything, but it's definitely good, especially if you need sealed magic crystals early on. Trash loot's pretty good. If you're on the NA server, sealed black magic crystals are in high demand. So this is one of those spots early game that you might want to grind if you need them. Other spots that we want to talk about. I personally still think Daytime Shuriken Necropolis is pretty good. It also drops one of the health potions or health pieces to make the infinite potion. But also another one that scales really well with Agris, in my opinion. And yeah, it's just like overall good. Usually things group up together. That's a big factor in one of my testings for all the grind spots is like, do the enemies leash well, and do they like stack and make things easier for your grind? Because some spots, you have to backtrack and everything. It's kind of annoying. But anyway, this one's solid. Going down into... Let's see, down into the 220 AP, 500-ish, 500 to 700 effective AP limit. Now these icons right here, the little green one, it means it's in the Elvia realm, and you just click this button at the top and it'll tell you it's Elvia realm. Now this one, since the past video, what has changed, you can actually get these shards of like the red, blue, and yellow ones through exchanges from the currency, and it's a little bit easier to get them, But the way we're going to be talking about this one is in terms of profit. So you get these shards, right? And then you combine them together. You see, like in the tooltip, it'll tell you all these different combinations. And it makes the cups for your accessories, which are always very expensive. And the thing is, to make a lot of silver from these Elvia spots, like these 3 combined and a few more, you kind of have to grind for a couple hours. And by couple, I mean, you know, like I would say maybe 15, 20, and then make the cups to sell it. That's where the big profit comes in from. And so it's not like one of those, oh, I make a lot per hour, but you make a lot by crafting the cups and then selling it. You could sell the shards as well, which, you know, it's not bad. It's just a little bit off if you craft a thing combined and sell it. But you also get a bunch of sealed black magic crystals as well, which adds to your profit. At least here on NA it does. Any other server, if it's not max price, it's a little bit less valuable, obviously. But Altar Imps is good. Brigadi Den, if you need yellow shards in particular, this has a higher drop rate than some other spots that have yellows. So this one in particular, not necessarily the best for silver, but if you need the yellow shards to combine it to make the cup, it's pretty good. So I would say it's, you know, above average, just if you are locked in for the full-on grind of making the cup and selling it. Okay, so next we're going to be talking about Kratuga Ancient Ruins. Now this spot, you see there's a lot of different artifacts that you can get, right? And so these are the beginner-friendly artifacts before you go into Kabuas and like the PvP defense stacking ones. So you're probably wondering, okay, so there's a lot of artifacts. What do you do with them? One, obviously you use them early on, but 2, if you already have what you want, you could simple alchemy it and turn it into those purified thingies, and then you could turn it into light stones, or you could just sell it, and believe it or not, they add up. So let's talk about this in terms of how do you get the ones you want. So for example, let's pick a spot that has them. Let's take this one. You are looking for magic, like evasion, DR, or AP. Now, generally the spots that only drop specific ones, you will only get like 1 artifact every like hour or 2 on average. And so being able to target the one you want will probably be roughly like 1 in 3 every few hours. Whereas if you grind Kratuga, it may have a larger artifact pool, but you're getting one like every 10 minutes. So I think on average, you will probably get the one you want like faster than the others. But also at the same time, as I mentioned, you could simple alchemy it and then turn that into silver as well through purified lightstone thingy that you sell. So overall, I think if you are targeting a specific artifact, it's still better to grind it at Kratuga simply because they drop at a higher rate than literally any other spot, just because all of them are in the pool. So realistically, the ones you should probably be looking for are probably like damage reduction, like all damage reduction, all evasion, maybe not evasion these days, but and then straight AP. It'll help you grind, gives you more AP for grinding, always good. And then you do get a bunch of sealed black magics, Capris, ancient spirit dust, and then that's about it. The accessories aren't really worth as much as they were, you know, a couple years ago. But if you're targeting artifacts, I think this is a overall good spot. Maybe like 1 bill an hour for the AP range of like 230, which is still in seasonal range. And making a bill an hour, pretty good. Vessel of Inquisition. To be honest, like this one is Old Star's End, kind of irrelevant. So there's Old Star's End and New Star's End. Back in the day when you grinded Old Star's End, if you got a black distortion earring, you were doing good for an hour. If you didn't get it, it feels bad and you felt like you wasted an hour. This is not worth grinding anymore, just because you could grind anywhere else and get multiple distos an hour. But they just changed the name from this one to Stars. This is Old Star's End, and we'll talk about the new one later. So, Swamp Fogans and Nagas. These two are very solid spots, in my opinion. You get roughly like 10 to 15 shards. So this one is for blue one, and this one is for yellow. And as we talked about before, your goal is to grind enough to be able to make the cups and then sell it. These are very solid silver per hour grind spots as well, because the trash loot is pretty decently good. And, you know, you sell basically all these, like the lightning piece, the seed of the void, and yeah, you just sell them to the vendor and straight silver. So yeah, tax free, very good, and you get a bunch of the shards. So both of these very good spots to grind for the cup if you're going to lock in anyway. The Bumbling Buccaneers. Now this is a grind spot that came out with the Olvia Academy, and if you don't know where it is over here. And you may have done the quest line for the weekly, and if you want to upgrade the node for it, it's the Olvia Academy node. So just make sure to go around here. I think this spot is okay. It's not the greatest, it's not the worst, but it's okay. So this spot, kind of like Kratuga, you could lock in and just grind out all of the artifacts as well. I am not sure how populated it is, but like if it's with the Olvia Academy, chances are that like a lot of people are also going to be there. Black Spirit Claw pieces, always very useful, no matter who you are, beginner, endgame. What they do is they allow you to put a crystal slot into your outfit. So basically, when you buy an outfit or you get one, you aren't able to use the crystal slot. And you see this middle one, basically, if you have the thing combined, it'll allow you to unlock the middle slot for that one. So yeah, always good, especially for people with new outfits. You get a bunch of sealed black magic crystals and resplendently lit gemstones. I personally would just like sell these to the vendor for 5 mil. I don't think anyone particularly needs them, but if you do, you can use it. But otherwise, it's just another 5 mil to the list. And trash loot's okay, but this is kind of like similar to Kratuga, but you don't have to go out of your way, because Kratuga is down here. Yeah. So Hazra, and you have to go into cave and then find the entrance to Kratuga, which is kind of annoying itself. So Bumbling Buccaneers is the equivalent. I believe that is a little bit higher AP, but let me check for you right now. So this one, 230 and 756, and then Buccaneer is like 825. A little bit higher on the gear score, but the loot is slightly better. Sonal Elvia. Now this one has been tweaked multiple times over the past few years, and overall I think right now it's in an okay state. It's not the best, it's not the worst, but you get a bunch of crystallized despairs. This is what the item you are targeting in the grind spot is, and then use this to upgrade your Vel's Heart, or quite honestly any of your alchemy stones. And then these items, the Scorching Sun Shard is going to be removed next week, because they're removing the Goddard-eyed weapon, and that's what was used to upgrade. So yeah, this, as of next week, if you're watching this, is not going to be in the game, but it's okay. This is an irrelevant item anyway. The jackpot item is the Blessed Soul Fragment, free like 10 bill. It's pretty rare actually, but it's always on the table to get that jackpot drop. Always nice. And then Upper Gyfin actually got changed recently, and Upper Gyfin is now, there's like a Dekia version, and then the, you know, non-Dekia one. So Upper, like this one, this is probably the earliest group grind spot. It's not completely terrible. Forest Furies are still a little bit expensive, and they're starting to be on order again. So if you enjoy group spots that are early on, this one is, I would say, maybe about $1 bill an hour. If you're using Agris, you can look at this tag over here. So it's like higher than the other, or it uses less Agris. Paddocks. Now this one I personally think is low-key good. I'll talk about the downside and the upside. The downside of the spot, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's right here. But with everyone having like a tier 9, if you have a unicorn, or not a tier 9, tier 10, and a free boat, you could get here relatively painlessly. If you have a tier 10 that can run on water, you just island hop from here, and just go on. If you have a boat, you just sail there. Obviously, no big deal. But it is one of those things where it's kind of annoying to get to, but there's a lot of reasons to be there as well. So, Paddocks. 1, you're going for the rich merchant ring. This merchant ring piece took me about 110 hours. I believe that's probably average. But if you look at these, the ethereal earring and ocean haze ring, I have enough hours in this grind spot to tell you that these drop pretty frequently, to the point where this adds a lot to your total silver an hour. So like, if on average you might get like a combined like maybe 5 or 6 accessories, maybe more. And so that's like what, 600-700 mil average, plus all the trash loot and other loot you get here. So I think this spot is low-key good just because the accessories right now are at an all-time high. But also, you're going for the rich merchant ring piece, which is probably the main reason you're grinding there. So that's what I would recommend. If you do want to grind some spots that, you know, is a little bit out of the way, a lot of people really aren't there, and also going for a treasure item that you will probably want to get in the future, I think Paddocks is low-key good. So just look at the accessory prices. Let me just show you this on the market. What is it? Ocean Haze. Let me show you this from a couple months ago. You see how this dropped down? Now it's at an all-time low and all-time high, and then went down a little bit, and it's going up again. So when I was grinding here, these accessories are about like 50 mil each. Now they are triple. That's good. So yeah, in my opinion, very solid spot. Okay, next we have Bloody Monastery and Elvia Ore Camp. So 2 of these Elvia spots. Bloody Monastery is kind of like one of those low-key fun grind spots because it drops the Crimson Bell. And so what does that mean? Like, while you're grinding, you're doing your usual rotation. Every now and then you get a Crimson Bell. And what that does is it calls enemies for about like, what, I think 5 or 15 minutes. And enemies will swarm you, and then you just like kill them, triples your trash loot and everything. So basically your trash loot is higher than average, assuming you get Crimson Bells. That's a little bit of the RNG part, is getting them, but I would say on average you guys are probably getting a couple Crimson Bells an hour. So I think that's overall good. And then just pop them all at once, and then 15 minutes of waves, and then you're doing good. So that's overall solid spot. Plus you get the yellow shards. Elvia Ore Camp, this one is always just consistent silver, and you will either find this spot very good or bad, because some people like the thrill of grinding spots for the accessory drop, right, or the rare treasure items. This spot, like all the loot you get, you could sell to the vendor, and that's what makes it consistent. And so what you're going to want to do is just grind there, everything you get, sell it to the vendor, and then that's about it. I would say about like a bill, maybe a bill and a half an hour, assuming you're meeting the effective limit, which is always good. And there's that. So this is the best spot for the red shards as well. Hong Lim base going into the 950 zone. Hong Lim has had its ups and downs over the years. I've talked about this in multiple videos, and I think this is the good entry level morning light spot for people who are looking to get all the crystals, especially the all AP ones. As you're moving into Karazad, you're probably going to need the crystals down here. So you see these things, the 6 squares at the bottom, that's what they're for. And so people who are just going into morning light, trying to find a good spot for consistent silver, this is the spot to be for early game players for all the crystals. And yeah, as of right now, it's in a good spot. Probably making I think around like 800 mil all the way up to like 1 point something bill plus the crystals you make. So if you get a couple bonds, obviously your silver goes up to like 2-3 billion an hour. And then unfortunately, these faint origins of Dark Hunger, they don't really sell. Like, they will sell eventually, but they're not like fast selling items. So for anyone else trying to make like a 300 stack, because you're going to need fail stacks eventually, it's also a good spot. So multi-purpose spot, always good. Primal Giant Post. Admittedly, I don't really have too much experience here, but it's a little bit like, it's one of those things where it kind of matches Sonal's, but has a higher drop rate of like everything else here. So like crystallized despairs will probably be a little bit higher here. Trash loot is worth a little bit more. So it's kind of like Sonal's, but with slightly higher amounts of silver. Nothing really too crazy to talk about. Olin's Valley. Okay, so this is the grind spot that you have probably heard a lot of people talking about, of the rich merchant ring piece being either really easy or very difficult to get. Personally, for me, it took me about 300-ish hours to get it. Whether that's good or not, I don't know. But either way, Olin's is one of those things where if you're trying to go for the merchant ring piece, it's going to be the one that stops you, most likely. Unless you get lucky. But anyway, there's 3 versions of it. So here's regular, Dekia 1, and Dekia 2. Regular Olin's is the best one to do if you're going for the rich merchant ring piece in particular. Dekia 1 and 2 are for silver included with that, but we'll talk about that as we get there. Underground Gyphon. Now this spot is still the number like one or I think 1 or 2 next to Orbita, but we'll talk about that later. In terms of XP, but we're talking about silver here. Is the spot good for silver? Yeah, I think it's okay. I mean, still, like, it didn't get nerfed since last time. It's just the same. So I would say about 1 bill an hour plus a bunch of accessory drops. These drop at a higher rate. You get a bunch of Forest Furies and everything else. So if you grind here, for the amount of AP, which is like 290, it's more XP than silver, but it's also not a bad spot. It's kind of fun. It's like a triangle. So think of an arena that's a triangle with 3 colors, like purple, red, and blue. And then it tells you like what color you focus that color. And then it's a very simple pattern. It's not too difficult. But yeah, it is a very good spot. Not necessarily the best one for silver, but it is top there for XP. Now you see these purple icons over here. These mean Dekia. This icon over here, that means you use a Dekia Lantern, which is one of these. Dekia tier 1 or tier 2. And there's more tier 1 spots than 2 at the moment. But all these spots generally drop a piece of a treasure item, or at least some paints for most people. And usually these Dekia spots are the upgraded versions for people who are looking for treasure items more than anything else. But if we're talking about silver, Sulfur Mine will generally give more than Pilaku. Obviously, they have 2 different map pieces to get the Archaeologist map. In my opinion, Sulfur Mine is probably like a bill an hour. It's not really good for that amount, like the amount of AP required, but you're not really there for the silver. You're there for the Archaeologist map piece. If you get the Debo an hour, that's pretty good. But none of these spots are particularly good to grind. It's okay. Pilaku is like half as good as Sulfur. It's like 500 to 600 mil, which surprisingly for the amount of AP, it's like the same thing. But Pilaku is just straight up worse. But once again, you're here for the other piece of the map and Archaeologist. Okay, so Histria and Akhman. These are for the telescope pieces. Histria Dekia is actually pretty solid. I know a lot of people that grind there. They like it. They said it's roughly 2 bill an hour. Assuming you are meeting max AP limits of here. But yeah, overall, the accessory drop rate is solid. Histria is one of the harder pieces. I think, in my opinion, that Histria is one of those things where you just kind of lock in and you just grind there. It's pretty chill. No, it's kind of out of the way, but you know, like it's not difficult. And I have more hours in Histria than any other grind spot in the game, around like 500-ish, just because that's how long it took me back in the day before Dekia came out to go for my compass piece. But yeah, just know most people are going to be grinding for the Elton piece here, and Histria is not too bad. So with like 1130, it definitely beats out the other spots. Akhman Temple, I have very limited data for this one just because I haven't had to go there, but you know, I would say about like bill and a half an hour. It's less worse than Histria, but it's also out of the way. But you need the other pieces for the Vodkin. Not Vodkin. What was it? The other one? I forgot the name of it, but Histria has 2 of them. Akhman has, well, also another one. All right. So anyway, Hex Sanctuary. This spot is pretty good. It went from good, and then they got nerfed, and then they buffed it again. Yeah, this spot overall good. If your class is a fast and big AoE class, you do better than others. But one of those things that has a high density of enemies. I've seen people make like between 2 to like 6 billion an hour here. Most of the money you get comes from crystallized despairs, but also the trash loot scales pretty highly, and there's a treasure, like the rare jackpot item of the fragments, and you do get a decent amount of distos nowadays as well. So yeah, Hex Sanctuary is actually really good. It's, you know, over time it's gone, I've seen its ups and downs, but I'd say in its current state, very solid. If you are a big AoE class, witch, wizard, something with big AoEs, you are going to be doing better. But overall, no matter what you play, I think this is a very solid spot. Upper Sakraya, this is one of the spots that got buffed recently, and back in the day it was pretty terrible. Nowadays it's not as terrible, and it also drops debos with it, and also the Rich Merchant Ring piece from Sakraya, which was a huge pain, and now it's not as bad of a pain. So I think the spot is really solid to grind. Now admittedly, I haven't had too much experience with upper. I have a lot of experience with lower, but I heard it was solid is the best way to put it. And, you know, probably, I would say bill and a half, maybe under 2 an hour. But the reason why you're here in upper is mostly for the Rich Merchant Ring piece, right? And that's about it. Ezerheed Highland. This spot never really got buffed, but it never really got nerfed either. It's just the prices of everything has gone down. So like the embers for your Ator shoes, when it was 10 bill, it was good. And then the Kabuas are, well, if you get one and sell it for 10 bill, that's good. If you're using it, you save 10 bill. So that's like, this is the jackpot item you want to get. That's where everything comes in. But in the limited time I've grinded here, I would say probably, I would say 2 bill an hour on average, assuming you sell everything and you do not get Kabuas. I think from what I've heard, you get one roughly every like 25-30 hours, but obviously that's just RNG. But on average, I've seen 25-30 hours per piece. Dekia Thornwood and Dekia Tenkuda, which is Turos. I really haven't seen people grind these. Thornwood got nerfed, and they lowered the rate of Ominous Rings, 1, and 2, that the amount of Capris you used to be able to get was a lot, and they toned that one down a little bit. So spot's not as good, but it's just mid nowadays. So if you were within the 1200 AP limit, I would probably grind like Hex Sanctuary, or like even probably Upper Sakraya or Histria. So instead of that one, it's not bad, it's just not great either. You kind of have to get lucky with limbo boxes and that contains like the extra, like, what is it? Deboreka rings. Cyclops Land. This one is, we know how we talked about Sonals and then Giants. It's kind of like that, but the rare drop item is Dawn Earrings, which not so great. You really want the Forgotten Limbo box, and then if you want to go for Sealed Black Magic Crystals, that is also the target here as well. This drops them at a high rate, but there's nothing really too special about it. You know, if you like grinding Sonals, Hex, or anything, it's probably consistent, if not better than that. Quint Hill. This spot is low-key good. Once again, this one, especially with Agris, the amount of trash loot is very high. I understand Black Desert is one of those games where you're like, gotta go fast, get as much trash loot as I can. This spot is like the reverse of that. There are fewer enemies, but the enemies drop like fat amounts of silver worth of items. And so I think this is one of the things that if you enjoyed a slower pace of a grind, this one might be good. And it kind of gives like a lot of silver. Like it gives a lot of crystallized despairs, more than the other LVS spots. So that's where a lot of your silver comes in. Plus the fiery troll hide, which is the trash loot. It, you know, it sells for a lot as well. And yeah, so this is why I would say, I think even back in the day, I was averaging like 3 bill an hour here. But that was like a lot of the silver comes in from trash and the crystallized despairs. So now it adds Limbo box, Deboreka earrings, which is also good, and the jackpot item of this one. So just keep in mind, it's a good spot, but it's a slower paced one, so you have to really enjoy grinding that one. Dekia Crescent. This one is, you were literally going for Deboreka earring, or not earrings, the rings, plus the Limbo boxes, which gives at least 2 of them. So trash loot, average. You are going for rings in particular here. Dekia 1 Olins. You're probably going for the Rich Merchant Ring piece in particular. In my opinion, this is about a 2 bill an hour spot, Dekia 1, whereas regular Olin's about less than 1 bill an hour. But once again, one of those Merchant Ring grind spot pieces. Kadri and Crescent Shrine are very similar. They have slightly different amounts of effective AP, but in terms of trash loot, it's roughly the same. You're still targeting rings in particular. So each of them probably about 2 bill an hour, but I would personally choose Kadri over Crescent just because it's less out of the way. And so for all of you who have no idea, Kadri, the grind spot, is over here, not in the desert. Crescent's is down here in the desert. So one is more annoying to get to than the other, and they give roughly the same amount of silver from my testing, at least. Okay, so where are we? Tungrad Ruins. People say this spot is bad. I think it's actually really good. Have you ever seen those videos of people getting like 60,000+ trash loot an hour? Yeah, this spot's pretty good. It also gives you, you can get 2 of the 3 telescope pieces. Origin of Dark Hungers will always be valuable as long as people need fail stacks, which is forever. Also Limbo boxes, trash loot, you know, you get a lot of trash loot. So yeah, people are making, you know, if you are a slow grinder, just learning it, you'll probably on the low end make around 2 bill an hour. On the high end, I've seen people make like 6-7 bill an hour. So that's pretty crazy. So yeah, I think Tungrad is good. Don't let anyone tell you this spot sucks, because this one, it does not suck. It's actually really good. And yeah, it's also a multi-purpose spot. A lot of sealed black magic crystals, telescope pieces. Telescope is one of the most valuable treasure items that I use on the regular. So archaeologist map, telescope, merchant ring, I guess, if that counts. Those are the ones I use the most. So I think it's definitely worth going for in general. And yeah, Tungrad actually in the top 5 for me. Dokubi Forest. This is the mid-game morning light spot. So you know how we talked about Hong Lim base earlier? This is the one for people who are a little bit more geared past Hong Lim, and you're also going for the crystals. These drop at a higher rate than Hong Lim, so I think I've seen people say this spot is like 3 bill an hour. I'm not too sure about that. I would say 2 is consistent. 3 is if you are getting like a lot of wands or maybe like a bond an hour. But overall, it's a very solid spot for the AP requirement. Fortunate Golden Pig. This is the end game spot for the crystals. It also drops a bunch of everything else as well. And if you have the AP around like 1445 to around 1500, I would definitely grind Fortunate Pig Cave at all costs, because this has the highest rate of crystals, and also, you know, you get a lot more trash loot in general, plus you fight a boss, and that one has a higher rate of crystals and everything. I think the Fortunate one, like, it gives you the little box that you could open and get like a Tet accessory. Realistically, you're about gonna get like the 10 mil bar, but I've seen people get, you know, tries and Tet accessories, you know, not too rarely from there. So Fortunate Golden Pig at the high end, Dokubi at the mid end, and Hong Lim is entry level. Olin's Valley Dekia Lantern 2. So you know how we talked about there's base Olin's, Dekia 1, Dekia 2. This is the one that people grind for silver and the merchant ring piece. I have about 200 hours with Dekia Lantern 2. And I would say on average, this is like a 3 bill an hour spot. You do get a bunch of Debo earrings. You get a bunch of Dekia fragments. You actually get a lot of Capris stones and black stones as well, which add up. If you need the left and right lungs for the Orzekia outfit, those are pretty common as well. These crystals, none of these are good except for the Stalwart Fortitude, because Knockdown is the best CC resist crystal, and this is the only one that will sell. So if you get this one, that's kind of like winning the 1 in 4, and then this one will sell, the other ones won't really. But all around, a very solid spot. I have a lot of hours in Olin's, and so if you can grind it, it's really good. I got a total of 2 Dekia artifacts, like straight raw drops from here, in about 200 hours. So it's not common. You will get your 100 through Dekia fragments in like a fraction of the time. You just have to make it yourself. So I would say about like 5 to 10 fragments an hour, depending on your group. This is also a group grind spot, obviously. So if your group is good, then you get more silver. If your group sucks, then you get less silver. It is what it is. Dark Seeker's Retreat. Kind of like Tungrad Ruins, on the low-key good. And we've all seen that video where people are getting like 70,000 trash loot an hour. Those are people who play perfectly. But even if you're just an average player, I think this spot is still very good. You get a bunch of origins, also telescope pieces, flame if you need it. Most people just sell it. And then Kabuas are always nice to have. Bunch of everything else. If you need sealed black magic crystals, this is probably the number 2 spot now. Number 1 being Underwater Sakraya. But this spot, if you combine everything, you're probably making around like 3 to 4 billion an hour on average with Agris. So yeah, like this is definitely in a top 10 for best spots for silver, in my opinion. Dark Seekers, don't let anyone tell you the spot sucks, because it doesn't. It's actually very good. Okay, so we have another Golden Pig Cave. So there's Fortunate and Regular. So you know how when you do Fortunate, it's sometimes that one is open because like that NPC will be like, oh, the spot's open. That's Fortunate. And then Regular Golden Pig Cave is when the main one is closed. So you just grind this one. This one isn't really worth grinding unless you are very specifically targeting the red crystals, which is weird because by the time you're grinding here and you're like 345 AP, chances are you are already at the point where you have all 6, or at least most of them, at Han and or Jin Dawn crystals. So it's a little bit weird, but either way, if you need and are targeting red crystals in very particular, I think it's fine. But if you can grind Fortunate Cave, I would always recommend doing that one over regular. But functionally, they're like the same thing, minus like you being able to get the like other crystals. Also, one thing that's always weird to me, if you look at the stats, 1460, 660, 1490. Regular cave 1510, 670, 1540. That's weird. I don't know why. But either way, Fortunate Golden Pig is better. Also lower requirements. So it doesn't make any sense to me. But just do Fortunate. Dekia 2 Ash Forest. Low-key good on the top 10. Actually, I don't even think this is low-key. People are just good. One of the few spots where you can get the Dekia artifacts, because these are more for PvPers, because they give evasion and DR. You do not need these for PvE. If you're dying in PvE, that's a skill issue. PvP, well, I guess more or less. But either way, these are defensive, and you won't really need them in PvE. Kind of like with Olin's, this is the jackpot, the Stalwart Fortitude. Rich Merchant Ring piece, always rare. And bunch of debos. Trash loot's pretty solid. Ash Forest Dekia 2 in particular is in the top 10 grind spot for me for silver. Mirror Mock. Now, this is the one that came out within, I would say, within 6 months ago, if I remember correctly. So that came out with Upper Gyfin Dekia and then Mirror Mock. So they came out at the same time, I believe. Now, this drops the rare artifacts as well. I personally think that if you were going to grind here, just know this is the one where you're doing it with your friends or your guildies. But Ash Forest is kind of still better, and it's like lower requirements. But you know, it really, this spot is a group spot, so it depends. Is your group good? And that's where the silver is coming from. And do they know mechanics? But aside from that, usually I would say, in my opinion, group spots, like if you don't like grinding, then, you know, like 1 hour of grind will feel a lot longer to use than the others. But usually group spots they usually go pretty quick. You're just chilling in Discord with the boys, and like 1 hour feels like 20 minutes. So either way, I don't think this is bad. Try to get a good group, because this one actually has a few mechanics. Am I thinking about that one right? Okay, yeah. So it's like shapes and colors pattern. Okay, so we're going into Edania. Now, there are like gear recommendations for that. We're going to be talking about Ethereum and all this stuff. But let's start with Ethereum. This is the entry level. You know, what you first go into Edania, there's 5 different grind spots. Ethereum is like the entry level one. So you're probably around 350 AP around here, 427. That allows you to do the boss as well. Around 1500 to 1600 effective. At this point, ideally, you should have decent amount of crystals. And I'll leave a link in the description to the crystals that I used for like best in slot for everything. But either way, I don't have a lot of time in this one, just because when this came out, I was already like, I started with Nymphomare and then went to Orbita and just after that. But from the data I've looked at from Garmoth, and also talked to with other people who like moved into the spot, they said it's about like 2 to 3 bill an hour, which I don't know. Like, your goal for Edania spots is to get the Wan, Bon, Jin, and Han crystals, which are these which give you Edania species damage. And so this one allows you to basically push up into the Nymphomare Castle. If you were going for silver directly, we're going to probably grind at Orzekia. Now, if you look at here, these both have the effective limit of 1595. But in terms of straight silver and crystals to help you, Orzekia is significantly better, just because you're going to be making the crystals, you get more trash loot, and it's just overall better. for the same amount that the game recommends. Keep in mind, you're going to probably have to have the higher end of crystals included, because 350 AP for both of these spots itself does not meet that requirement. Crystals full buff will help you, but in my opinion, Max Silver or Zekia, Ethereum Castle, you were going there for the wand crystal, and I would say the difference is about like 500 mil per hour in trash loot. But it really just depends. If you like Ethereum and you just like grinding there, good for you. Just go grind at the spot you like. That's what I tell everyone. Upper Gyfin. This is also one of the ones that came up with, or like released at the same time as Miramok with the release. And also drops the Decky of Artifacts as well. Always nice. And this one also has a pattern. Let me try to explain the mechanics. So you fight the enemies, waves come out as usual, standard tower spot. Then there's 3 towers. Think of a triangle pattern, 3 towers. 2 of them will glow gold, and then 1 of them will glow purple. Or it could be the other way around, 2 purples, 1 gold. Either way, you want to like get the one that's different. And yeah, so it's very easy. As long as you're not playing on like potato quality, you should be able to see it. And yeah, I believe it's very easy to spot the pattern, and then standard tower spot. Okay, so Nymphomere Castle, the 1 step up above Ethereum Castle. Now, what is different? You get the bond crystal. Instead of plus 15 AP for Adania, it gets plus 30. That's good. You also get silent fragments of origin. Admittedly, this feels like a kind of a bait because these don't drop regularly. These do drop, but they're not regular. I've gotten, in all my time grinding Adania, I've gotten 0 silent crystals, which is the full 100. I've gotten 2 distorted straight drops. So one of those things that it's in the loot table, but don't expect to get it. And at this point, by the time you're at Nymphomere, you're going to be going for end times, because those allow you to upgrade your Jinn crystals to Han, and also your light stones, they'll allow you to go for amplified. So even if Nymphomere is not necessarily like good in terms of silver directly, getting to crystallize end times, getting your bond crystal, and just potentially getting a silent crystal is worth a lot more, in my opinion. So silver directly will be lower, but the drop loot table makes up for that one. So if you're just looking, how much trash loot do I get? It's going to be lower, but all these other items make up for it. Trust me, I have a lot of hours there. Orbita. This one has seen its ups and downs over time. It's just like when it first came out, it got like nerfed and then buffed again, and then nerfed and then buffed. At the current state of the game, it's okay. I mean, like, this is probably the #1 spot for XP in the game. If you guys have watched Jimmy, he is pushing to like level 70. I think he's like 68 or something at this point. He grinds Orbita, and yeah, I think it's overall the most XP in the game. Silver is very consistent. I think it's about 3 to 4 bill an hour for the amount of AP, which is 380 here. So I think overall, very solid spot. So this one is the new one that came out with this week, the Dark Energy Floodlands. This is the new group Adania grind spot. All 3 of these are the same. They're just in 3 different spots. So it's the same loot table. They just are called something different. In my opinion, in the limited 3 hours I have grinding here, they're about 2.8, 3 bill an hour. But I also didn't get any Hans. I didn't get the flawless. It's just straight, trash loot. And, if you sell the heralds and then Hans, that's, I would say, what it's about. Let's say 3 bill an hour here. Assuming you have a group who can meet the requirements, and you are also, hitting like Adania AP and everything, full buffed and so on. Just know, this might be confusing. All 3 of these spots are essentially the same thing. They're just in different spots. in different castles, essentially. Tenebrom. I actually really like Tenebrom. This is one of those things where I think people are either going to like it or straight up dislike it, but I think for the amount of AP, it's more chill than Orbita. So it could even be more chill than Zephyros. Like, actually, even though this one has a higher loot table. But you're going for the Han. This is where the entry level for the Han, the best in the slot, Edania species damage crystal and AP or DP damage reduction. And so, yeah, I think for people, most people are going to be around here. Zephyros is for the people who hit you have to be like full Oct and above, and full like deck Karazods to be going to Zephyros. But overall, this spot is very solid. I mean, I think I have a couple of videos making 4 bill an hour here with Agris and everything. So yeah, I would say this is very chill. As long as you know how to use your iframes, even like you could probably play this with a controller and you'll be fine. Zephyros Castle. So we're going to talk about all these spots: Zephyros, Star's End, and Sakraya. We're going to kind of combine these together because they all are the end game spots. And you might be like, oh, these have different AP requirements. Zephyros has 2010 because you can get the Han crystal, which is Edania damage, whereas Sakraya doesn't have a monster type, so they had to lower it to make it the same thing. And Star's End has a demi-human, which is kind of, it's like the same thing, but the species damage, they all feel the same in a way. Zephyros makes the most amount of money. It just makes more than the others. However, it is more out of the way, and I don't mind this spot. Like, they nerfed the dies that you can get for here, but according to Garmoth, you were making 4.5 billion. I think that's a little bit on the higher end. I think you make around 3.8 to 4 billion an hour, like your average grinding Zephyros. Star's End. I have never gotten one of the rare spawns that drops to 3 billion origin, but I think on average I'm making around 3.5 to 3.8 bill an hour here. Assuming these gluttony crystals are max price and will sell at max, you do get a decent amount of sealed black magic crystals. I would probably just not really consider the dies because they nerfed the rate. So it used to be decent. Now it's just kind of like, oh, if you get one, it actually feels rare, but like, whatever. I would recommend just buying it if you want one. Either way, Star's End is kind of an annoying spot simply because if you are a fast clearer, so this is how it works. You pop a crystal like regular Star's End, right? And then you have about 5-10 seconds of downtime because the crystal is like pulling everything in. So that's when people backtrack and kill everything and then come back when the thing pops. So this spot has a lot of backtrack grinding, which is very annoying. I don't like it, but the spot itself makes a decent amount of silver. Everything is decent, but it's one of those things where you just kind of have to backtrack between crystals to pick up loot. I think this is one of the things where if you don't have max tier 4 and a tier 5 pet, I would probably just recommend grinding like Zephyros or literally anywhere else, because you do need fast pets, and it's also kind of annoying. So either way, if you're grinding here, I'd say most people are grinding here because they need the corrupted gluttony crystals, and that's about it. Sakraya, I would say this is actually one of my favorite spots, even if it is the worst of the 3 endgame ones. I make around 3 bill here. It is very heavily RNG dependent, because every 15 minutes or so, a colored orb will spawn, like a green one, and then RNG if you get a blue one, a yellow one, and a red one. So like basically it starts at green and it can upgrade to a blue and a yellow, and I've never seen a red one pop before. I've gotten yellows. And so basically you get a bunch of gold bars up to 1 billion, and that's the RNG where sometimes you can get an extra 1 billion or 2 silver just by getting decent RNG from the memories. The rich merchant ring piece feels like kind of like a bait, because if you want the Sakraya piece, you generally do upper. But on average, I would say about 3.5 to 4 billion an hour. It's not bad. I personally like it just because I don't have to backtrack. It's underwater, and I personally think that scenery in a grind spot matters so much because, you know, like visually appealing, if that makes sense. Like I would rather grind in like nature, green, colorful versus like a swamp in the middle of a desert, right? So yeah, Sakurai underwater. It's a very nice and pleasing place. Zephyros Castle is also pretty pleasing. Star's End is not really. Everything looks like dead there. So anyway, I would personally grind a lower or a spot that gives a little bit less silver just because it's a bit more visually appealing to me. Them coming out with refined Origin of Dark Hungers felt like a bait because we already have Origins and everything. So it's like, oh, this should have been the thing that pushes your fail stacks from like all the way up to 400, right? Or something higher, but it's essentially an Origin, but a pink version. It's dumb. Like, why would you do that? Just make it go up to 400, make it unique, and then I think more people would be doing that. So it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing here with this one? It's the same thing, but pink. Either way, that's all the grind spots I wanted to talk about. This was a very long video. I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. If you have any questions, I'm happy to point all of you guys in the right direction. You can leave a comment. You could also join the Discord. We have a channel for gear help, and if you just have any other questions, probably easier to just join the Discord in general. But with that said, this is probably one of the longer videos, talking for an hour straight, and if there's probably a bunch of questions you have. If you do, feel free to leave it in the comment. I'm happy to point you in the right direction. But if you're new, hit that subscribe button. We got a bunch of videos to talk about in the near future, new content and everything. So I try to keep up with all that. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.